What's up, guys? It's your boy, and today we are going to be looking at all of the anime coming out in the winter 2023 season. I figure this is a good way to start out the new year. I did one of these for the fall. It was the first time I ever did one, and it seemed to go well, so I wanted to do one to start off the new year correct. I'm actually filming this before I go off to Japan, and it's going to be my arrival video, and I just felt it was so suiting after going away to the land of anime for a couple weeks myself. If you like anime, if you like the content, if you like anything at all about what I'm doing here, I'd appreciate it if you'd maybe click like button on the video and subscribe if you want to as well. It always helps out. Let's go ahead and pull up my anime list where we were going to be going through all of the upcoming anime for the next season. Now, something I noticed before we kind of get into things is that a lot of the seasonal shows this year are sequels, but they're not sequels to shows that are quite as well critically acclaimed or even popularity acclaimed to the point of something like, say, Chainsaw Man and Spy Family Core 2, Mob Psycho 100 Season 3, which is why you're going to see me go through a lot of these and say, I don't know too much to say about maybe some of these sequels because I watch some shows, I don't watch others. So bear with me. If it's a sequel to a show you like, I might not have too much of an opinion on it. Plus, I don't want to spend too much time on sequels anyways, because there's so much to say about some of the newer shows here. There's a couple in particular that I'll be spending a good amount of time on. But we're going to read synopsis, we're going to take it slow, and we are going to get through this. So let's go ahead and get started. Vinland Saga Season 2. We have the synopsis saying, a new millennium begins in the southern part of Jutland Peninsula in Denmark. A young man there, Einar, who is also a slave like him. The encounter of Einar led, on the other hand, Canute, who became the king of England, attempted to extend the territory for the establishment of Saga, the story of atonement and salvation saga that lies beyond the prologue. There's a lot going on here with this premise, and I feel like I probably would understand it more if I was a Vinland Saga fan. But I will say there are some very promising things that I'm seeing about the series already with this. First off, the lore actually does sound quite interesting. It kind of makes me want to watch the first season. So I also looked at the kind of the review score that Vinland Saga had because it's at the top of the list here with 180,000 people who have said it's like, or have put it on their list essentially. The other thing though I want to mention about it is you'll notice the Studio Mappa. The first season was not animated by Mappa, but I wouldn't be complaining if Mappa picked up a show that I like. So, if you are a Vinland Saga fan, Mappa's kind of been on a roll. I know Chainsaw Man had some CGI stuff early on that some people weren't as keen on, but for the most part, Chainsaw Man still has gotten a pretty good reputation. Of course, Jujutsu Kaisen, they've taken on a lot more projects recently. I don't know how their animators sleep, if they sleep, but I would be looking out for this one. Second off, we have Misfit of Demon Academy 2. I believe that's the English title. It's really long here, but it's another second season here. There's not really much of a synopsis here. From what I'm seeing of kind of the animation and the general reception of the show, though, this seems like one that you would probably want to continue if you're already a fan of it. Is it worth going out of your way to see? I mean, the fan base is there. People seem to like it, but once again, you have to take that coupled with the fact that there's nothing quite this season like Mob Psycho or Spy Family or something like that. But, I mean, I think it could be good. I think if it's something that maybe sounds of interest to you, give it a shot. But I wouldn't be dying to see this one, especially not to the level of Vinland Saga, which I think sounds way more promising. Third, all right, this is a personal Jelswick thing. You know, I'm Mr. Slice of Life over here. Ira Janaide, Nagatoro-san, Second Attack. I am very hopeful for this show. And I've heard the plot progression. I'm not a manga reader, but I've heard the plot progression for this is good. The first few episodes of the first season of Nagatoro are kind of hard to watch, to be quite honest, because of how much bullying Senpai takes. I don't even know his name. I don't even know if it's said, but it doesn't really even matter. But by the end of the season, it was really just kind of touching, a lot of the stuff. Like, it was really kind of wholesome stuff. Not all of it, granted. Some of it was still a little sus. It is Nagatoro after all. However, in general, I felt that their romance felt natural, which is really weird given how kind of bizarre they start the romance, if you even want to call it that. As you can see in the bottom right there, I have it on my plan to watch list. I've been looking forward to this one for a while because the first season of Nagatoro I really didn't expect to like, but I ended up liking it quite a bit. So more sequels here. As I said, there's just a lot of sequels here for shows that I think have more niche fan bases. These first two here, Tokyo Revengers and Bungo Stray Dogs, I'm not even really going to talk about all that much just because I don't know too much about them. I've heard the titles. I know they have their dedicated fan bases of people who really enjoy those shows, and I'm sure they are great, especially with Bungo Stray Dogs. I know the studio being Bones. That's a name that I'm pretty sure you guys want to see, so it has potential, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to speak on them too much because I don't have the expertise there. I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out My Defense Season 2. Again, as I said with these first two, I don't quite have the expertise, but with this third one, I don't even really so much have it either. But I will say, I think this is probably the token isekai. There's always one. There's always a token isekai, and I'm interested to see where this one in particular will go. I'm not even so much sure it's an isekai. It says its theme is video game. That's my assumption. If I'm wrong, feel free to critique me in the comments. But I like the title. It sounds like it's probably a bit of fun. And sometimes that's all you need. Just something kind of fun. Next up, we got another season 2, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I will say, in terms of the style of the characters and just kind of the overall vibe that it gives, I'm really interested in Inspector Season 2, and that's what that first one is there. It reminds me, it's funny, there's a mobile game out there, it's called Epic 7, and the girl in Inspector and the girl in like the trailers and stuff for Epic 7, the mobile game, look really, really similar. And it's kind of given me a desire to watch the show. I just haven't gotten to it yet. For those of you who are like, why have you not seen any of these shows? I really want you to see some of these shows. I've been watching Fairy Tail, which has been a mistake to get as far into Fairy Tail as I have. I've watched over 150 episodes in college. So please give me suggestions, though, as to whether I should prioritize something like Inspector more. But in general, it's one that I think looks of interest to myself. I don't know the studio demographic, though, shonen. That's always a good sign. So if you're into Inspector, I'm sure you are looking forward to that show, and I'm pretty sure from what I've heard, it was not supposed to get a second season anyways. Next up, this one I'm going to talk about for a bit because I'm pretty excited about it, and it is Nier Automata version 1.1a. If you are not familiar, it is a video game, and I have a friend who suggested I play it. It's like a third-person perspective. He even was like, you got to turn on the Japanese subtitles because it changes the characterizations and stuff, and I got to tell you, the game has been excellent so far. It kind of clues you in on small details one by one. You know kind of the general premise of the show. It says there's no synopsis there, but it's a thing between cyborgs and humanity, and there's kind of a combat going on. I won't go too much into it because it's one of those you really do. You pick up details as you go. I have very high expectations for it. If you have not played the game, I would highly recommend it, and I would highly recommend the show after playing the game because I really wouldn't want you guys to spoil the game for yourselves. I will say one other detail that is 100% worth mentioning here. A1 Pictures. I love A1 Pictures. They are my favorite studio because I just, in general, tend to enjoy what they put out. They put out Your Lie in April. They did Blend S. They did Fairy Tail, just to name a few. And if I remember correctly, Cloverworks is also an offshoot of them. I think I've talked about that in prior videos. So this is one that I really think you should look forward to, and if done right, could be very, very, very good. Next up, Tomo-chan wa Ananoko. I'm going to get it wrong on occasion, these titles. Tomo Aizawa and Junichiro are the tightest bros you'd ever see. They roughhouse and spar, but through thick and thin, they've got each other's back. Yet, there's just one small problem. Tomo is in love with Jun. Since she was young, tomboyish Tomo has been just another one of the guys. Due to his extreme muscle brain nature, Jun doesn't notice any of her of her advances, not even when she explicitly confesses, to add insult to injury for the longest time, he didn't even realize that she was a girl. Tomo-chan wa Ononoko follows the comedic hijinks of Tomo and her friends as she tries to catch Jun's eye and escape the infamous bro zone. Oof. I gotta say, I love a good slice of life. Y'all know I love my slice of life. And this one sounds like it's gonna be interesting. I don't know kind of the angle they're gonna take it, because they could take it kind of the ecchi romance comedy route, and I know it doesn't say ecchi there, but you know how it is. They add in those elements quite a lot sometimes, and they go kind of that route. Or if they go like more from the girl's perspective, and it's really trying to lean into more of their friendship element of the things. And I hope it's the latter, and I hope that there's actually kind of a real good plot here, trying to build their relationship. I hope that that's what we get. This one, premise-wise, could work, could not work. It all depends on the execution. 100% execution-based here. So we will see if it ends up being more of kind of a sitcom, ecchi type thing, or if it ends up being more of a relational thing that builds off of the last thing. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Part 4. So this is the 4th season, 2nd part. So I guess they've done the first core earlier. I have actually heard a striking amount of praise for Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? But once again, I don't have the expertise to talk about it. I'm sure if you're a fan, and I'm shocked it's this low, honestly, because it is kind of a notable title. I'm sure if you're a fan, you are highly looking forward to this, especially knowing the fact that it's been around for so long and has had so many seasons. Maybe it's run its course, I don't know, just judging by kind of the lower fan base. Maybe it's more of a niche. But in general, I mean, it's been around this long. I'm sure the fan base is very excited about it. The second one is called By the Grace of the Gods, 2nd season. And by the grace of the gods, I'm going to skip a synopsis or anything here because I just don't know anything about this show. And judging by the cover, it's not one that I'm going to get to anytime soon. It's an isekai. I'm sure the first season's great. I'm sure the 2nd season's going to go just as well. But not one that's really on my radar. Now we have The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten.
After catching a cold by giving his only umbrella to a girl sitting in the rain, Amane Fujimiya only expects her to eventually return it. However, Mahiru Shina, the angel of Amane's school, and his neighbor, instead gives him a lot more than that. Instead of just the umbrella, she insists on returning the favor by helping him recover from his cold. However, she is oblivious to the battlefield that is Amane's apartment. The only word that Mahiro finds from her mouth to describe the chaos is unsightly, but despite her unsympathetic description, Mahiru proceeds to help the hopeless Amane. Otonari no Tenshi-sama ni Itsumo, I'm not even going to go through the rest, follows Amane as he is taken care of by Mahiru, who attends to various chores from cleaning his apartment to cooking dinner. Is there anything that the angel cannot do?
And I rate this one boring sounding out of 10. Now, to be fair, I've been wrong on this before. I said I thought Do It Yourself sounded really lame, and then a bunch of people were like, you gotta watch Do It Yourself. I've been wrong on this kind of thing before. It all depends on how it's executed. Especially, slice of life is kind of an overinflated genre, I feel, these days, and I'm not sad about that fact, but they can take it in two directions, and it's always like boring situational comedy or interesting relational romance, right? And that's not to say the two can't intertwine in some ways, but it always goes more one way or more the other. So for this one in particular, I think the premise is just kind of lame. Takes care of a sick guy. Very cool. It would all depend on what they do past that, if it's really worth watching. Like, this synopsis here, is this a first episode thing, or is this half or all of the show? Because if it's, like, her just kind of taking care of this guy, probably on my skip list. But if it's just, like, the first couple episodes to set up the premise, it might be worth maybe a 3-episode rule here. It all depends on kind of how it's done, and I'll probably wait to see some reviews come out before I really judge it, but at least from this synopsis, sounds kind of boring. All right, next up. We're still going strong here. We still got quite a few to go, so bear with me, guys. Spy Kyoshitsu. After a gruesome war wreaked havoc on the general populace, governments of the world turned to a more elusive tactic to further their agendas. A war fought in the shadows.
Lily, a beautiful girl with white locks, is a student in one of the many institutions that trains youth into becoming capable spies. Unfortunately, despite scoring well in the written exams, she only manages to barely pass her practicals. With no real-world skills to speak of, her hopes of graduating are dismal until she's offered the opportunity to join the mysterious team Tomoshibi and partake in an impassable mission. Not impossible, impassable. Excited by the prospect of working with the elite, Lily enthusiastically accepts. However, she is struck dumb when she arrives at Kagero Palace, and the true purpose of Tomoshibi and its hopeless situation comes into light. Joined by other problematic female spies, along with a mysterious young man spearheading this operation, Lily realizes that this is not the ideal escapade she had pictured.
Can we get anime money heist? No, but for real, the premise of this is probably the most interesting to me that we've read so far. I don't know too much about Studio Feel. I'd probably have to watch a trailer for this in my own time. I don't do it here just for copyright reasons. But what I will say is this could be a really interesting show, really interesting premise. I like the idea of the whole like female spy thing. This may be riffing off of Licorice Recoil a little bit. It's hard to tell just based on timing if it's coincidental or if it's purposeful. Either way, has some potential there. I would keep an eye on it. Maybe give it a few episodes when it comes out just to see if it's any good. Kuba-san wa Mabuo Yurusanai. High school student Junta Shiraishi has a simple goal to live a fulfilling youth. However, achieving this goal appears to be harder than everyone expected, as everyone in his surroundings often fails to notice him due to his lack of presence. Bunny Girl Senpai much? In fact, Shirashi's lack of presence is so severe that several people think his seat in class is always empty and mistakenly assume that he often skips school. There's even a weird rumor spreading around in class claiming that those who successfully spot Shiraishi will be blessed with good fortune for the day. So far, the only person who notices his existence is Nagisa, the girl seated next to him. Unfortunately for him, though, Kubo likes to tease him on a daily basis. Nagisa Kubo. And often puts him into unprecedented and nerve-wracking situations. However, as Kubo's playful antics continue to involve the reluctant Shiraishi, he may soon discover that his youth might not be as boring as he initially thought. Sounds like a weird crossover between Bunny Girl Senpai and Nagatsuro or something. Weird, like, mishmash. I honestly, judging by this description and watching as many slice of life shows as I have, this sounds pretty generic among the slice of life that we've gone to. Just because it takes a lot of ideas that I think we've seen executed better by other shows. Like the other one about the guy being sick, I mean, there's episodes where that is done, but at least that can be just used as a jumping point for bigger and better things. This one might go the route of something like Nagatsuro, where it just kind of blows up because of the relationship and people kind of latch onto it. I don't see that happening. Where I really kind of see this going is the Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie route, which was people kind of were looking at it as maybe a sleeper hit, and it just didn't really pan out. We're going to skip over Trigun Stampede, as I don't watch too much Trigun myself.
So do you hate me? I'm not surprised. If you do, I wouldn't blame you.
All right, this one had a longer title, so I looked it up. It's The Ice Guy and His Cool Female Colleague. See the pun there? That's funny, isn't it? All right. Himuro is an office worker who belongs to a race of supernatural beings with strange powers. Whenever he is in deep concentration, he subconsciously plunges his poor coworkers into a close rendition of the Arctic. Even so, contrary to his icy powers, Himuro is a warm and kind person. He likes flowers and cats, but alas, he cannot get too close to either. Himuro has a soft spot for his colleague Fuyutsuki, a calm woman who has a knack for providing simple solutions to his unconventional problems. Whenever Fuyutsuki does something for him, a snowstorm, of emotions builds inside Himuro's heart, and he fails to notice the raging snowstorm he causes on the office floor. Thanks to his snowy tantrums, Himuro's feelings are apparent to everyone but Fuyutsuki. However, fueled by an immense adoration and desire, Himuro is prepared to do whatever it takes to capture her heart. Now, this one's tagged as fantasy. I don't know if this is always the case. Whoops, sorry. But whenever I see fantasy, it leads me to think isekai, just because it all kind of has that same general look to it. This one, though, it does not sound like he goes to another world. It sounds like he actually just has weird powers, and they just kind of go off. You know who I also know has weird snow powers, who doesn't know how to control them? Elsa from Frozen. Weird parallel to that this anime season. I was not expecting to make an Elsa comparison in a season of anime. This one could be a really good comedy. If they really lean into the comedy aspect, I think that's where this one's going to thrive. And that is in the, he's trying to romance the girl, and then snow falls, and then his coworkers get mad at him. That should be the plot of this show. It should just have fun with it. But if it leans into the romance aspect, I think it's treading thin ice. See what I did there? We shall see whether it does so well or not so well. I think this one has potential, but I'd probably only give it an episode. This one here, a harem isekai. I'm not going to spend time on it because I haven't seen the first season. Plus, I want to skip on to this next one right here. Inu ni natara suki na hito ni hirowatara. Bear with me on this plot synopsis. The story follows the protagonist, who wakes up one day transformed as Pochita, a pet dog of his cool and beautiful classmate Karen Inukai. Notice this tag right here? See that? That's right. This one's special. And I would actually show you the trailer of this one if it weren't for the fact that it is age restricted on YouTube. That's the kind of show you're getting into when you watch this one. It's about a dude who turns into a dog, and it's the dog of a girl. You're getting what you're asking for there, I guess, if that's something you were wanting. If you're the kind of person who likes shows like Interspecies Reviewers, if you're the kind of guy who likes Immoral Guild, you're probably also going to enjoy this show. It just depends on whether you are going to lean fully into the trash side of anime or not. We're going to call this one Reborn to Master the Blade, because it's just got a really long title. Let's go ahead. We're going to go quickly speedrun the synopsis here and see what this one's about. From his deathbed, Hero King Inglis, the divine knight and master of all he surveys, gazes down on the empire he built with his mighty hand, having devoted his life to statecraft and his subjects' well-being. His one unfulfilled wish is to live again for himself, this time a warrior's life he devoted himself to before his rise to power. His patron goddess, Alistia, hears his plea and smiles upon him, flinging his soul into the far future. Goddesses work in mysterious ways. Not only is Inglis now the daughter of a minor noble family, but at her first coming-of-age ceremony at 6, she's found ineligible to begin her knighthood. However, for a lady of Inglis' ambition, this is less a setback and more the challenge she was reborn to overcome. It's an isekai. They want you to know it's an isekai. It's not the blood that runs through your veins that makes you a knight. It's the blood you shed on the battlefield. The curtain rises on the legend of an extraordinary lady squire reborn to master the blade. This one, it's an isekai. It sounds pretty generic, it could be good, could be bad. Not my thing, just because it sounds really, really generic to me. To me, an isekai, for me to want to go out of my way to watch it, not that I don't want to watch this particular isekai, but for me to go out of my way to watch it, it really has to have some sort of standout element. I just don't see that from this. We're going to call this one the latest on Tsundere Villainous. I almost said Thundere. Tsundere villainess Lysolot. And that's half the title. These titles, insanely long these days. On the outside, Otome villainess Lysolot seems foul in every way, a purely evil character. However, as revealed in her diary, she was always hiding both her pain and her true feelings for Prince Sigward. While she keeps this locked away, an evil witch ultimately possesses her, leading to her demise. A tragic end for the Tsundere villainess. This is how the story always goes. An end coded into the game Magikoi. Broadcasting club members Aoto Endo and Shihono Kobayashi decide to play this game. In another universe, Prince Sigward hears their voices, believing it to be a divine revelation from a god and goddess. These voices cue him into something he never noticed before. Lysolot is actually overwhelmingly adorable. There are no resets in this game, and just one chance to change the future for the ill-fated villainess. In years to come, these two entities, who would continue to guide the country to prosperity and greatness, would be known as play-by-play Endo and color commentator Kobayashi. This one is really kind of interesting because it takes like the people controlling the... It's literally about people controlling a game. That's an interesting kind of spin on things. And if the two people who are controlling the game are interesting and funny, this could be a romp. I'd give this 3 solid episodes if it's something that it sounds like you are at all interested in, just to see if it's as funny as I think it could be. And then the last one over here, which seems like it could be interesting, is Isekai Nanbari Noka. Having died of sickness at the age of 39, Machio Hiraku is given the opportunity to go to another world. When asked what his wish is by God intending to give him strength, he requests to have a healthy body. Offered a second wish, he chooses to live peacefully. A third wish, to be able to know the local language. And for a final wish, to be able to be a farmer. We saw so many farmer animes last season that were like in the weeds of it all, right? Like behind all these big popular shows, Bleach and Mob Psycho, you had like what felt like 8 farmer anime, and I don't get it, man. I just like, is there some like giant monster that comes out or something like? I mean, okay, I get it. I'm a slice of life guy, I really am, but like, farmer anime, it's kind of like sports anime to me, I guess, where it's just like, it just doesn't sound like something I'd be all that interested in. And I'm a slice of life guy. I like the simple things, but farming by itself, you would have to have some sort of situation to make that entertaining. So if there's something really kind of unique about this one, and I know I say this a lot, but I think it matters a lot when you have genres that are overused, right? And we saw so many farmer anime in the previous season. You just got to bring something new to the table. And that's why I said with the second isekai, this middle one here, that I guess isn't even really an isekai so much as it is 2 people controlling a game, which is it's a cool premise, right? It's different. This one, I don't see it. So we'll see how they handle it. Maybe give it an episode to see if it's going anywhere interesting anytime fast. All right, so this first one I'm particularly excited about. Oni-chan wa Oshimai. Mahiro Oyama was just a normal erotic game-loving dude until he wake up one morning as a woman. Turns out his mad scientist little sister, Mihari, tried out one of her new experiments on him with a disastrous outcome, as far as Mahiro is concerned. But Mihari is as determined to study him as he is determined to go back to his shut-in game-playing life. One thing's for sure, life is going to get a whole lot weirder from here on out. So, this is done by Studio Bind, and if you're unfamiliar with Studio Bind, you might have at least heard of Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. It was really, really, really popular isekai. It's one that really kind of did it right. And Studio Bind hasn't done any other shows, and this is their first foray out of Mushoku Tensei territory. And I think it's just such an odd premise to go with for your first, like, foray into it, but I've seen the trailer. It leans into kind of a moe look, which I think's an interesting choice. I'm sure it's based on the manga, so that style is probably inherited from that. But even still, the art style, I can't tell if I really like it or if it's gonna need some getting used to. Because on the surface, it's kind of cool looking, but I don't know if I love it, I guess. But I really think this is going to be the sleeper hit of the season. Not many people were talking about it. The studio is quality. I think the plot, I think a lot of people are kind of turned away by the plot itself, but I'm telling you, I really think that if we're going to see a sleeper hit come out of this season, it's going to be this one. I think it's going to be hilarious. I've watched the trailer a few different times. Even like the opening music and some of the trailer music is pretty good. You guys might not agree with me there. I think this is our sleeper hit. I'm probably going to stick with it week to week just to see if it lives up to that expectation, and I really hope it does. The reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world. We got another isekai. Would you believe it? After the betrayal of his companions, Haruyoshi, the strongest diviner, was on the verge of dying. Hoping to be happy in the next life, he attempted the secret reincarnation technique and was sent to a different world. I've never heard anything like that before in an anime. Born into a family of magicians, the magic he didn't inherit paled in comparison to his previous abilities as an onmyoji. Who needs magic? I'll survive in this world with my old techniques. I think this right here is a failure of synopsis because this doesn't really give me any reason to watch it on top of any other isekai. He was an exorcist, but then like he didn't get the right powers, or at least they weren't as good. That's all the synopsis has given me. I'd give it an episode just to see if it's any good, if you're going to give that, even that. All right, y'all see the tag. This one's going to be fun. Matsuri Kazamaki and Suzu Kanade are childhood friends bonded by their shared ability to see Ayakashi, yokai in search of a life force to devour. However, in high school, their relationship deteriorates as Suzu's one-sided feelings are growing, so is the difference in their Ayakashi views. Matsuri considers all Ayakashi a threat to his friend, while Suzu is an Ayakashi medium, someone who exudes a significant amount of life force compared to the average human, and loves them despite all the risk. When the two stumble upon a talking white cat named Shirogane, they are unaware that it is a 400-year-old Ayakashi known as the King of Ayakashi. He's hellbent on gaining even more power by devouring Suzu, but as Matsuri swoops in to try and save her by sealing Shirogane's powers, the Ayakashi uses a jutsu to turn him into a girl instead. Matsuri vows to protect Suzu from further harm as her best friend, but he must learn how to act like a girl until his grandfather, a famous Winjutsu exorcist ninja, it just keeps going, who can undo the jutsu. Meanwhile, Suzu must work out her romantic feelings for Matsuri now that he is no longer a boy, but when Matsuri takes the king as his pet, the future of the two friends seems uncertain. I have heard this one kind of rumored about, talked about in the background. I'm so happy that we finally have some details on it. This is so the plot of this is so convoluted, and yet it describes itself as an ecchi. Guys, this is the show. This is the one. Gosh. It's going to be in strong competition for Garbage Dumpster of the winter season, right next to the one where the guy turns into a dog. This one, because instead of the friend turning into a dog, we've got a guy turning into a girl, and then there's like romantic feelings for each other. This is quality stuff that we are getting this season, and I hope you guys are just as excited about it as I am, because I'm going to be watching all 140 episodes that are bound to be made of this show. And by that I mean it's going to have a single season, and then we'll probably never hear of it again. But it's always nice to see some good old-fashioned trash anime show up on the list. All right, we've already gone through too much second season stuff. We're skipping this one. Even though it's got KyoAni at the helm, I hope it does well. Anything Kyoto Animation does, I hope does well. Handyman Saito in Another World. Short synopsis here. We love to see it. Saito is an ordinary handyman that gets transported to another world where his skills are very useful. He starts to really understand what it means to be needed. In the context of a handyman, this one could be hilarious. It's also based on a 4-koma manga, and those tend to be pretty entertaining. I believe Blendest was one of those, because I believe that means a 4-panel. So I'm curious to see if he's like just this dude fixing things while there's like knights, because the photo here makes it look like there's wizards and knights, and he's just there with like a screwdriver and a wrench and a like worker's bag essentially. So I'm curious to see how this is done. I think this one could be hilarious. I'd give it 3 episodes if it's of interest. Last on this row, we have the Ice Blade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World. What's it about ice this season? Everyone knows the most powerful soldier, the Ice Blade Magician who led the country to victory 3 years ago, but few know his true name. Ray White. We had another one that was really like a really generic American name last season, so it's good to see the generic American names are back. After weathering through a bloody war, Ray enrolls at Arnold Academy, ready to experience a normal life, a luxury he never had. To further his goal, he keeps his identity as the Ice Blade Magician a secret, the scars of the past still haunting him to this very day. Despite being ostracized for being a commoner, Ray befriends the prideful yet kind Amelia Rose, the muscle-brained Evie Armstrong, and the shy, bookish Elisa. However, conspiracy is lurking in the academic walls, and Ray is tasked with hunting down a spy whose motives remain unclear. To protect his newfound friends and the people he holds dear, Ray will do whatever it takes, even if it means confronting his past. Again, sounds like an isekai, but I like the premise here. I really do. I would probably still only give this an episode or 2 just to see how it's executed. There's only been a few where I'd say like full season might be worthwhile. I'm not one who likes to start a show without finishing it, so I'm very selective as to what I would say. Go ahead and watch it. This one could be interesting, but I'm not sold on it. I would say week to week on that one for sure. I know the 3-episode rule is the golden rule in anime, but you could watch 1 episode and know with that one. You know what I mean? This has got the best title of an anime this season. I'm going to look at it again real quick before showing it, just to make sure I get it right. Chillin' in my 30s after getting fired from the Demon King's army. That's the English title of this one. The Dark Soldier Dariel, 30 years old, who can't use his magic despite being in the Demon Lord's army, was fired for his lack of capacity. Having been raised by the previous Demon Lord himself, he finds that his adopted brother, the new Demon Lord, has little use for him. However, after rescuing a village girl from a forest monster, Dariel is invited into her village and starts realizing that he may be more considerably powerful than what he thought. I think this... Oh my gosh. I'm on the isekai train now. It didn't have me before, but these past 3 have had some pretty funny premises. I would watch them solely for comedy. So of the last 3 that I've done, if you think any of them sounds particularly funny or interesting, the second one, I would say the Ice Blade one, I guess is more of a serious one. But the Handyman one and then this one in particular have potential to be really funny if they are done right. Which is why I can't say that I fully recommend them, because there's just so many isekai. I know I'm harping on this over and over and over again, but it's just really hard to find one that is original enough to want to invest your time into. So what I would say, if you are looking for an isekai this season, there's a lot of them that seem like they could have interesting premises. I would say it's up to you guys to determine if you want a funny one, if you want a serious one, and then which one in particular interests you. Because chances are, if you think that the plots of some of these are interesting, you're probably going to enjoy the show if you're an isekai fan. So, I leave that up to you guys to discern. Apparently, Disillusioned Adventurers will save the world. These titles are fantastic this season. I don't think I've read many... air conditioner. I don't think I've read many titles under like 4 words this entire session we've been sitting here going through this. So let's go ahead and read the synopsis. We've read a lot of long synopses today, but we'll go through another one. Here we go. The story begins with Nick, an experienced adventurer whose party is led by his mentor and father figure, Argus. Following the completion of their latest job, Nick discovers a chunk of the money has gone missing. Hey, Nick is the name of my editor. He'll like this one. Discovers a chunk of his money is gone missing and realizes one of the party members is the culprit. To his surprise, Argus forgives the member and instead expels Nick after being accused of also embezzling funds, just like the Nick editor that I know. Sorry, Nick. One night, after several weeks in a downward spiral, Nick ends up in a local tavern where fate leads him to meeting 3 fellow adventurers. After a night of drinking, the 4 bond over their own betrayals and their destroyed ability to trust anyone. This is when Nick hatches the idea for the 4 to form a party. Thus, the story begins with a party of adventurers united in their belief that humans are not good people and desire to make some honest coin. Judging by the other kind of isekai premises that we have this season and some of the other fantasy stuff that we've got going on this season, I don't know if this is worth investing time into. I think if you are going to pick between 2 or 3, maybe even 3 or 4 of the shows here, this probably shouldn't be one on your radar, at least judging by the synopsis alone. So I personally don't have much interest in this, judging by it sounds generic to me. So I would say probably skip this one, judging by plot alone. This next one, 2nd season, haven't seen the first. You know what we're doing. On to the next row. Kaina of the Great Snow Sea is the English title for this one. A world blanketed in an endless and ever-growing ocean of... What's with the snow and ice theming this season? Seriously, this is the 3rd one. Ever-growing ocean of snow. I mean, I guess it's winter. Is that common? Do we see a bunch of snow anime during winter? Are we really that basic? The people eke out a living, either huddled around the roots of enormous trees, dotting the surface, or high in the canopy, which spreads over the planet's atmosphere. A chance meeting between Kaina, a youth from the canopy, and Lilaha, a young woman from the surface, sets off a chain of events that will change the fate of the world. I'm calling potential sleeper hit for this one. I really like the premise here. I know you can't, it's not a lot here, but I'm saying this is probably a read between the lines, could be an artistic vision story to play. I think this one could be really interesting, and I would keep an eye on it. Certainly give it 3 episodes. I don't know. It looks like it could be an actual, like, dramatic adventure worth watching. I can't even, like, do the... I'm going to read the Japanese title of this one, and you guys can look it up, because I looked at the English title, and it's just as hard as some of the other ones I've had to memorize. Tensei Ojo no... I can't even read it. Tensei Ojo to Tensei Reijo no Maho Kakume. There you go. If you want to look it up, you can. I'm not looking up the English title for this. I've done it too many times for you guys. Despite her supposed ineptitude with regular magic, Princess Anisphia defies the aristocracy's expectations by developing magicology, a unique magical theory based on memories from her past life, another isekai. One day, she witnesses the brilliant noblewoman Euphilia unjustly stripped of her title as the kingdom's next monarch. That's when Anisphia, that is such a odd, like, that's a really weird name. Am I saying that right? Anisphia? I think that's right. Concocts a plan to help Euphilia regain her good name, which somehow involves them living together and researching magic. Little do these two ladies know, however, that their chance encounter will alter not only their own futures, but those of the kingdom and the entire world. So it says episode 1 was streamed in advance on the Katakawa YouTube channel on December 10th, so this one doesn't even belong here. I personally don't have much interest in this one. The plot does seem like it could be interesting, and I do like kind of like kingdom-based shows, don't get me wrong. Because I feel like a lot of them where it's like there's a king and a queen and they do this, I tend to dismiss them outright. This does sound like it could be good. I just don't particularly have much interest in this one in particular. It would have to show me... there's going to have to be a lot of Twitter posts saying, oh my gosh, you have to watch this one before I go for it. I just don't have too much to say on it, though. It just... the magicology thing is kind of generic. It just kind of feels, again, more on the generic side of the isekai that we've gone through today. Buddy Daddies is the name of this next show, and it has no synopsis. So I'm going to say 10 out of 10, you must watch it. I have no idea what it's about. Title's great, though. Sure, why not? 10 out of 10. Jelswick, 10 out of 10. Saving 80,000 gold for my retirement. It's not quite that. It's a little longer than that. But that gets the gist of it, and I've read enough titles today. I've already said that once. One day, Mitsuha falls off a cliff and is transported to a medieval Europe-type world. After a near-death encounter with a pack of wolves, she then realizes that she's able to transport between the two worlds, this one and her own. Taking advantage of this ability, Mitsuha decides to live in both worlds and calculates that she'll need 80,000 gold coins to be able to retire. Mitsuha now has to come up with different ways to collect her gold coins. As an accounting major and somebody who pinches pennies a little bit, even though I'm literally in Japan probably spending thousands of dollars on anime figures right now, this one seems like it could be... the premise is entertaining. I like the idea of somebody who just is like, I just want to save up enough money to retire, and that's the anime. It's something that everybody likes, but seen in an anime and in an isekai setting, I think it's quite funny. I would give this a watch. It's kind of in the same vein, I think, as something like Jahi, which was really funny to me. I quite enjoyed it. So I'd give this one an episode or two just to see if it's any good. Sounds fun enough. Campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. Is it just me, or is there more isekai even than a typical loaded isekai season? And none of them have a ton of followers on their My Anime List page. So I don't know. I'm about sick of reading these titles. I'm just gonna go down to here where it says his only skills. That's Tsuyoshi, is his name. Turns out to be food menu, which allows him to open an interface where he can purchase and obtain food-related supermarket items from modern Japan. Unceremoniously booted out of the palace, Tsuyoshi sets out on his own into his new world. However, his ability to create delicious dishes unknown to this world soon pays dividends, even attracting the legendary wolf Fenrir. Fenrir is so taken in by the food that the creature immediately forms a contract with Tsuyoshi, becoming his familiar. Followed by this whimsical mythical being, Tsuyoshi takes up a job as a merchant and adventurer, traveling and cooking up mouth-watering meals that never fail to amaze the inhabitants of this world. Mappa, guys. Did you really see this slate and say, we gotta do that? Mappa. I'm gonna say it. We've got a Mappa show that you're just gonna have to skip. This one, there's so many isekai, and even among the gimmick isekai, this one sounds boring. I'm sorry, Mappa. I don't like doing it to you like that, but you kind of deserve it there. Revenger. That's an easy title. See, I could read that one. And I don't have to look at the English title or anything. It's just right there. Revenger. I can do that. As a master assassin, Yusi Yuen looks into a series of assassinations made on the Grand Samurai clan, the Satsuma. He encounters Kurima Raizo, member and survivor of one of the attacks. Together, they discover the true nature of these murders is bigger than over stolen resources. As they get closer to the truth, will they come out alive to exact revenge? That's from Crunchyroll, who did that. You know, this one kind of like gives me you guys probably won't see it, as the show itself is 100% different, but like in terms of the synopsis and kind of the historical framework and stuff, kind of reminds me of Raven of the Inner Palace from the former season. I really think that this could be an interesting show. I would almost certainly say 3 episodes if it really sets up the mystery well. And I think that this one could be fun. I like the historical setting. I don't think the synopsis here is all that great. I think that there could be a bit more kind of elaborated into. I guess it does kind of give the plot in terms of the revenge aspect of things. But I would like maybe a little bit more info on like the Grand Samurai clan. Either way, it's a little bit picky of me. I will say though, in general, the premise, the historical framework, I think warrants at least a couple episodes. Mononogatari. And I went to the Crunchyroll, I went to the My Anime List page for this particular show because I was wondering if it had anything to do with Bakemonogatari or any of those series. But at least on the page, it didn't show that it was a sequel to anything, so we're going to assume that it's not, and we're going to treat it as its own series. I'm pretty sure it is. So, take that for what it's worth. Tsukumogami, spirits or maribito, can possess objects of considerable age and gain a physical form. Although he is part of the Senome clan that is in charge of peacefully sending them back to their own world, Hyoma Kunato despises them because one took away what was very precious to him. In order to cure him of his loathing, Hyoma's grandfather sends him to live with Botan Nagatsuki, a girl who is the master of 6 friendly Tsukumogomi and lives with them as a family. This one, it's kind of a supernatural show. I mean, it has the tag here. I think the cool thing about this one is the idea of the thing that interests me about this is Botan and how she is kind of treated here. It says it's an action show, which really, it doesn't give that vibe, judging by, like, it seems almost like a recovery program. I mean, it says in order to cure him of his loathing, he's sent to live with this girl. So I don't exactly know how it's an action show. At least that's how it's tagged. But I honestly kind of could see it being a cool, like, in Jujutsu Kaisen, there's kind of the training part with, there's kind of the training part with Gojo and the main character, the redhead guy. His name's escaping me right now. It's killing me. I want to say Ichigo from Bleach so bad, but that's not his name. Where he's like in front of the TV or whatever. Like something like that, where he just goes to this like kind of hideaway area and just does like menial tasks until he's ready to take on the battles. That could be kind of an interesting show. I'd probably only give this an episode to see if the premise is well set up. I really think that first episode can give you that kind of vibe with a show like this. It's also done by Bandai Namco, who tends to put out some pretty good stuff. So I tend to think that this has you have reason to be optimistic with this show. Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. Again, Really easy title to read. I like that one. After her mother passes away, Anne decides to become a silver sugar master like her mother, a highly regarded occupation in the country of Highland, where very few masters of the craft exist. Anne leaves for the town of Lewiston, where the royal family holds a sugar sculpture festival. To become a silver sugar master, she has to win the top spot and receive a royal medal. In this world, humans treat fairies as slaves and take one of their wings to control them. Anne reluctantly buys a fairy named Shal to become a bodyguard on her way to Lewiston, and is torn setting Shal free, but needing a bodyguard on the dangerous roads to the festival. I love this premise, actually, because I think that it sets up kind of the highly regarded occupation, the kind of royal family setting, and it's kind of that partnership thing where Shal's like supposed to be a bodyguard, but also should. I mean, why not? I guess my main question would be, why not both? Why can't she be set free, but then also act as a bodyguard, like maybe like a paid bodyguard, because that's cool. So I would be curious to, like, I legitimately, after reading this, want to see the relationship between Shal the slave and who was it? Anne, the girl who wants to become the silver sugar master, and see how it plays out, because I really think that sounds like a cool and intriguing premise. Next up in this row, we have The Legend of Heroes Sen no Kisei Northern War. Eiyu Densetsu Sen no Kiseki centers around Rian Schwarzer, a professor at Thor's military academy in the Arabonian Empire. The anime story will focus on the western part of the Zemurian continent featured in the game. So this is a video game based anime. I don't know the game. It's even like this is a red flag to me. They're referencing the game in the synopsis, which makes me think it's for players of the game primarily and won't expand as much to a broader audience. I don't know what the game is, and I don't know anybody who plays it. If you do, great. But I'm saying skip on this one because I think it's probably just more of a catered anime than it is something that is for broad audiences. I would hope otherwise, but that's kind of the synopsis idea I'm getting from that one. Hikari no O. Hikari no O takes place in the aftermath of humanity's last war. The world is enveloped with a black forest, and people have become infected with a pathogen that causes them to burst into flame in the presence of natural fire. The only safe source of fire can be obtained by hunting black beasts, flame spirits, which reside deep in the forest. Among the fire hunters, the rumors of the king of fire hunters began spreading recently, an individual who would be able to harvest the man-made star, the Millennium Comet that once wandered into the void. The story revolves around Toko, a village-raised girl, and Koshi, a former student in the capital. The encounter between the two, who were not supposed to cross paths, will change the fate of the world. And I gotta say, the cover looks different here, animation style-wise. I don't know. We're starting to get into some of these more obscure things. I don't know how many episodes this is going to be for. This, if it's kind of taken in an artistic direction, which, judging by the cover alone, and you can't judge an anime by its cover, it could be taken in a really neat artistic direction. And I like when shows, rather than try to cater to an audience, isekai, they try to just go forth with an artistic vision. So I hope that they kind of lean into that with this show, because the premise really kind of roped me in immediately as I was reading the synopsis here. And I'm typically not like an apocalypse type guy. That's not really of interest to me. But of all things, a pathogen that causes them to burst into flame in the presence of natural fire, it sounds intriguing. And I want it to be intriguing. So I would say give it 3 episodes in hopes that it's good. Ars no Kyoju. The giant beast created the land, but humans stole it. Angered, the beast began eating humans, who in turn called upon the gods to fight the beasts. In the age of the sword, heroes and mythology, giant beasts are hunted by humans for profit. Jiro, who makes his living hunting beast, encounters Kumi, who is being chased by someone, and in that moment decides to save her. As rumors spread regarding humanity and a mysterious experiment, together they seek to discover the world's secrets. It's an interesting cycle. I would like to see kind of how the gods aid in fighting the beasts, in particular with this one. I think it sounds intriguing. I don't know. It sounds also kind of simple in the synopsis part of things. It's the first one I've seen that's done by High Dive. But at least it was easy to get through. Easy to read. I think this one is probably worth an episode of your time. This one is a very broad premise. I have a lot of why questions, and if they're able to answer those whys and kind of like, why was eating the humans the solution to the humans stealing the land? Where'd the humans come into this if the beasts have the power to create the land? Like, there's a lot of just kind of general questions I have about it, and if they're set up well, they can make it into something. If it's just like, well, this is just kind of how it happened, then it's probably not going to be for me. I like that the time spent to explain things properly like that. Nokemono tachi no yoru. Sorry. These names, man. Wisteria is an orphan girl living in a corner of the British Empire at the end of the 19th century. Her life is desolate and bleak until she encounters Marbas, a powerful but equally lonely immortal being with a furry appearance. Hounded by hunters, together Wisteria and Marbas roam the empire populated by humans and human-like beasts in search of a palace where they can live together in peace. Interestingly enough, these two are done by... I don't know if it's a typo or not. Let me make sure here. There are two different studios here, and they're one letter off. Ashi and Asahi. They're two different production studios. I thought they were done by the same one for a second there. But no, two different studios. And this one, it's a fantasy show. Lots of fantasy shows this season. I think if you're wanting to, like, if you want me to pick between these two, because I think they're kind of similar in overall, like, ideas, right? Like, human beast working together, trying to find a world where they can live in harmony, trying to find the world's secrets I would probably go Arsenal Kyoju over Nokemono, just judging by the synopsis alone. If you want to give them both a try, I mean, you can go week by week with both of them, but in terms of, like, interest, I am definitely going with No Kyoju over here, just on synopsis alone. All right, this is going to be our last full row, and then I think I'm going to scroll down. There's one more that I kind of want to touch on, but this is our last full row. And even then, the only one that I'm really going to talk about on this row, I'm going to talk about the first two. The third one's a short anime, so don't worry about it. Technoroid Overmind is set in the entertainment tower Babel, a new hope found by those who have lost the joy of light as humanity's activities are restricted due to the large-scale climate change caused by the expanded sun. The anime depicts unique units and characters fighting for the top of Babel, pursuing emotions that move people and androids through performance. It is an idol show. It is a male idol show at that. I feel like male idol shows aren't seen a lot. I'm not a particular, I'm not like a huge idol fan, right? But the premise is really good here. Man, why do idol shows have to have the great premises when, to save the world, they got to do, singing performances? Because otherwise, I mean, this really does sound cool. Like, the entertainment tower Babel and trying to, give humanity hope after a horrible thing. I mean, I guess if you're going to have it as an entertainment tower, it works. I just, with the kind of unique and legitimately futuristic climate change like plot, I really think they could do something more kind of serious and futuristic with this rather than moving people through the power of performances. That's just me, though. I definitely think there needs to be more male idol shows out there, though, because there's a lot of idol shows, and most of them are female-based. Not that that's a bad thing, but... So we got a third season of... It's like Sorcerer's Stabbing Orphan, I think is the name. It's something like that. There's like a little subtitle with it as well. It's got a third season. It's towards the bottom of this list in terms of like people with 4.4K. I don't know how it has a third season unless it's like very like low budget, or either that or it's got a real passionate fan base. It is a martial arts show. If it's a show that you guys know about, please let me know. I would love to try and learn more about what this show is, because for it to be getting its third season, I mean, obviously it has its fans, right? But I have never heard of this one. There's been a couple this particular, and I've mentioned it before, that are just season 2s or season 3s of shows that I've never heard of, and I've heard of a lot of shows. This season in particular brought out all the season 2s of shows I've never heard of. All right, as almost more of an honorable mention, because I have no idea why it's here, but we got another male idol show that I really want to talk about, and there's only one reason why I really want to talk about it, and it's the same reason I talked about a similar show last season, though it wasn't really so much an idol show. Unite Up. We're going to talk about Unite Up, and the reason why we're going to talk about it is because of that studio, Cloverworks. Cloverworks doing an idol show is something that I did not expect from them, but they are the masters of slice of life. Horimiya and Bunny Girl Senpai are two absolute masterpieces. Bocce the Rock has so many memes right now, and Bocce the Rock seems to be overperforming considering it didn't really get a lot of press, at least not that I saw. So keep an eye on Unite Up down here at the very, very bottom of the anime list for this year. There are a couple that I didn't talk about, and I'm sure they're going to be great. But once you get to the bottom of the list, there starts to be like Card Fight Season 2. I just won't have any opinion of, and then there's other like shorts and stuff that just are not worth talking about. So this is going to cap off my opinions on the upcoming season of anime. I wanted to have a longer video for you guys to come back with. Nick is probably having an absolute blast editing this video. Thank you, Nick. I'll treat you to something later. Promise you, my dude. But that's all from me today, and I will see you guys in the next video next week. Thanks for coming back after I've been gone for a week in Japan, which was very cool. Bye-bye now.